So, a fresh new week has arrived, and here on this channel, that means one thing and one thing only. Every weekend I post an episode of the series we do called Your Take Not Mine, where I turn to you, the viewers, to give me your hottest NBA takes of the week, based on what's going on at the time, and I then choose my favorite submissions and discuss them in a video. This week has been even crazier in the world of trade requests, and we're getting close to the halfway point of the NBA season, so we definitely have plenty to discuss. In order to submit your takes, I make a community post on either the day of or the day before the video, similar to the one that you see on your screen now, so if you want a chance to be featured in a future episode, be sure to stay on the lookout for that. Before we start though, I want to thank ZBiotics for sponsoring today's video. We all have busy lives these days and can't afford to waste a day stuck on the couch because of a few drinks the night before. ZBiotics Pre-Alcohol is the answer we've all been looking for. Pre-Alcohol is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic, designed specifically to break down the toxic byproduct of alcohol in the gut. This byproduct, not dehydration, is what's to blame for your rough next day. So drink ZBiotics before a night of alcohol consumption, drink responsibly, and get a good night's of rest to ensure that you'll be feeling your best the next day. As you can see, 3 of the 6 that I have in mine right here are already gone because I've already started to work them into my pre-drinking routine, and I've been feeling so much better as a result of it. So start your new year off right by adding pre-alcohol to your routine. Go to zbiotics.com/hoopsreference to do so. You can also scan the QR code on the screen right now to get 15% off your order when you use code hoopsreference at checkout. You can also sign up for a subscription using this code so you can stay prepared no matter the time or the occasion. ZBiotics is backed with 100% money guarantee, so if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund you your money, no questions asked. Once again, thank you to ZBiotics for sponsoring today's video. Now let's get back to the topic at hand. The first take we'll be discussing today comes to us from You Won't, and he says that the Cleveland Cavaliers are just this year's version of the 2015 Atlanta Hawks, who were an elite regular season team that never had a chance at winning the title. The Atlanta Hawks back in 2015 were genuinely a group that put on a masterclass on how to play high-level basketball without a true superstar on the roster. The San Antonio Spurs throughout the 2000s get a reputation for playing dominant but unflashy team basketball, but they still had all-time greats like Tim Duncan leading the way, so they ended their run with several titles under their belts, while the Atlanta Hawks in that year, while playing a similar brand of basketball to those Spurs teams, ended up being a bit of a fluke. The Cleveland Cavaliers this season may not seem to have the most stacked roster on paper, but a take like this, saying they have no shot at winning a title, is just lazy, and I could not disagree more with the comparison to the 2015 Hawks. Right now, through 37 games, the Cavaliers have a record of 33-4, which is a win percentage of 89.2. They are almost exactly on track to match the all-time season wins record with that win percentage from when the Warriors broke the all-time wins record, but even when that is unrealistic to expect them to break that record, winning 65 games this year would still be one hell of an accomplishment, solidifying that the Cavaliers are as legit as it gets. It's funny because ever since the Cavs team re-emerged as a playoff squad, their identity has been built on the defensive end of the floor, consistently ranking amongst the league's best on that end. But this year, everything is clicking for them on the offensive end, and they are the league's #1 ranked offense this season. Darius Garland is playing more confidently than he ever has in his career. Donovan Mitchell is still one of the best shooting guards in the NBA. Evan Mobley has improved substantially on the offensive end while being one of the best defenders in the league, and they're also still a top 10 defensive team. The Celtics are the defending champions and rightfully deserve to be called the favorites until someone dethrones them. The Thunder in the Western Conference are dominating without even being at full strength, but the Cavaliers are right there with those two teams in that top tier of contender without question. The next take we'll be discussing today comes to us from Banana, and he says that Jimmy Butler will not actually help any of the teams that he could potentially get traded to because star acquisitions lately tend to do more harm than good, and smart, fringe contending teams would look better at going after some depth instead of an aging star. The Jimmy Butler trade saga gets a new wrinkle every week, as this week he got suspended for conduct detrimental to the team, aka he was complaining too loudly and too publicly about his current situation. Butler, for lack of better words, has had a bit of a controversial ride throughout his career, as this is not his first rodeo with contentious trade requests and spats with his front office. He's also been one of the best playoff performers of the last 5 years, but then it's also true that he still has not gotten over the hump to lead his team to winning a ring yet, and he's now 35 years old and far from playing his best basketball. There is some truth to the original take where going all in on making a big trade for a star player can backfire and end up setting a team back, but making that a blanket statement for every team is where I cannot get on board. Yes, in a lot of cases, teams near the top of the standings would be better off saving their assets and spending more wisely around the edges to find maybe an impact role player or two, but there are definitely a few teams that want to contend right now and are in desperate need of star talent to come give their number one option some help. The Golden State Warriors are a prime example of this, where Steph Curry is in desperate need of another creator next to him in the lineup because they are incredibly deprived of on-ball creativity in their lineup, and Steph himself isn't even having his best season. Jimmy Butler has a competitive fire that very few can reciprocate, and in the playoffs, he consistently lights that fire and brings out his best stuff, so in some cases, taking a risk on bringing in that kind of talent is worth it, even at his age. And finally, the last take we'll be discussing today comes to us from 507, and he says that in the long run, Aan Thompson is going to be the best player on the Rockets actually, not their other players that are leading the way now. The Rockets are this year's big breakout, as they're in second place in the Western Conference standings after a few years of rebuilding prior. Last season, they just barely missed out on a spot in the play-in tournament, so before the year, a reasonable next step would have been for them to get themselves in the mix to fight for maybe one of the lower playoff seeds, but they're saying screw that and leapfrogging everyone, and they're doing it with a hungry young team craving their first taste of playoff basketball together. Veterans like Fred VanVleet and Dylan Brooks are the ones leading the way, setting the tone. Young guys like Alperen Sengun and Jalen Green are their leading scorers and most talented guys in many ways, but Aan Thompson may genuinely have the highest ceiling of all of them, and he's just getting started. When Thompson was drafted 4th overall, his insane athleticism and explosiveness was pegged as genuinely being in the top 1% of the entire league, and that has not been an exaggeration whatsoever, as his athleticism has been a highly impactful tool for this Rockets group all season long. He's one of the best rebounding wing players in the league, his speed can be matched by very few, he dominates on the defensive side of the ball because of that explosiveness, and while he still has a long way to go as a perimeter shooter, he is still able to score the ball consistently because defenders can't keep him in front of them. Alperen Sengun is such a unique offensive talent that I fully believe in becoming an all-star in the near future, and Aan Thompson's shooting woes could hold him back a tiny bit, but overall, Thompson is going to be one of the better two-way wings in the league for a long time, barring injury, and at 21 years old, he's already flashing that potential on a regular basis, so it's obviously debatable if he's going to end up being their best player, quote-unquote, but he is still going to be incredible nonetheless. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below what you think about the takes discussed. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.